Yes, 00 Stephen. I know that you just returned from a mission in Austria. However, I need to send you back out. You're going to Egypt, which I know is a country in the deserts of North Africa. But do beware of Jaws.
They have sharks in North Africa, T? Everybody, and welcome to another episode of 24 FPS presents The Good, the Bad, the Bond. This week, we are tackling yet another James Bond movie, as we typically do, but this time, Travis and I are going to be going after the best of the Roger Moore series. And what is the best, you say? Well, according to the critics of Rotten Tomatoes, with a solid 83%, 82%, it's The Spy Who Loved Me, which is going to be a good one. Travis, how are you feeling about this particular flick going into our chat?
I am kind of excited for a couple of reasons. We'll get to exactly what those reasons are, but this one is a memorable James Bond movie for me, for sure.
Had you seen this one before?
I had. As I've mentioned, I've definitely watched all of them. Some more than others, but I do remember there's very memorable parts of this that are kind of etched into my subconscious. So yeah, I had seen this one before, but it had been quite a while since I've watched any of the Roger Moore Bonds at all. So it had been a while since I'd seen this one.
This one hit some surprises for me because I had not seen this one. I'd seen Moonraker, which is the one that comes right after this.
Yep.
Directed by the same director, which in this case was who was it?
Lewis Gilbert.
Lewis Gilbert, yeah, who did Moonraker as well. So there's two movies with similar plot lines.
Kind
really,
of, yes.
One goes down into the ocean, the other goes to space. And
Moonraker was not going to be the next movie. If you notice the very end, it was going to be For Your Eyes Only. But then Cubby Broccoli saw how well Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Star Wars did. And he's like, sci-fi? Let's jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah,
and so
we
they
can
ended up
put
going
James
with
Bond in space.
Right.
Can you? Well, we're not going to find out on this series because we're not watching that one. Because we watched the best one. Yes. But yeah, I hadn't seen this one before. I had seen several clips from this because there are a few things that happen in this movie that are memorable. One is shown everywhere. Anytime you talk about future cars, we'll get to that in a minute. And then, of course, the temple level of GoldenEye features Jaws. And surprise, surprise, there's no temple in the movie GoldenEye. So that totally comes from this, which I thought was fascinating. I did not realize. So it's kind of cool that this is one of the ones, best rated and also has several cultural moments that stuck around and kind of echo through time. Show up again and again. But we're going to kick this thing off like we normally do by covering the plot of this James Bond movie as seen by the IMDb movie summary.
Yes.
This one says, James Bond investigates the hijacking of British and Russian submarines carrying nuclear warheads with the help of a KGB agent whose lover he killed.
Intrigue.
That blows kind of some of the plot line. I struggle with that plot line a little bit. I know it's the source of the title of the movie.
Kind of, but also it's not like they're trying to hide it either, because they clearly show the guy, Sergei, and then they clearly show his face when Bond shoots him. Yeah. So it's not like they're making it a mystery that Bond shot this guy and killed him. And then, if it had been just the guy mentions going to Austria and we don't see, like, they don't show us his face. Mm-hmm. And then later on it's revealed, oh yeah, no, I did kill that guy. Maybe, but they weren't making it a secret. Interestingly, this is The Spy Who Loved Me was an Ian Fleming novel, as we know. But do you know how much of that plot is in this movie?
Less than 10%.
Yes, much less than 10%. In fact, here is what they pulled from The Spy Who Loved Me novel by Ian Fleming, which I think was, I want to say 1962. Okay. So they used the title, The Spy Who Loved Me, and James Bond. And that's it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's not 10%.
The novel was actually written in the first person from the Bond girl, her perspective. And Bond himself is only in a few chapters. It's mostly from her side. And it was one that Fleming, after he published it, was like, I don't like this one. And he didn't want anyone to make it into a movie. And so when they ended up making this one, which I did, I learned that part of the reason we were getting James Bond movies like every 2 or 3 years is because Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman had a deal with United Artists, and they basically had to put a movie into production like every 18 months or they would lose the rights, something like that. So that was a part of it. But yeah, they basically said, okay, well, we'll use this title, but we'll just make up a whole new script. So the whole story, none of the characters except for Bond and M and Moneypenny are from the novel. Even Jaws, the henchman, there was a henchman, but it wasn't Jaws. Like, basically everything is made solely for this movie. Stromberg is the villain, all of it. So I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Now I want to read the book to see if it's any better than the movie. I mean, but you just said Ian Fleming didn't even really like it. It sounds to me like he was doing some experimenting with that kind of feel. But it makes a lot more sense than the movie title does for the movie, because you kind of have to do a little bit of mental gymnastics to get around to The Spy Who Loved Me and who that is. And what spy loved who? But if it's the book and it's from the girl's perspective, that makes sense. It kind of can follow. I understand where that title might surface from.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and get us to the reviews of this movie.
Yes.
Because as we stated last time, we watched the other one. What was the other one called?
A View to a Kill.
A View to a Kill. That was the worst Roger Moore, and The Spy Who Loved Me is the best Roger Moore at 82%. So here's 3 of the reviews that I've got. Roger Moore put an unusually goofy spin on Bond, which didn't always work in the overall vision. However, The Spy Who Loved Me is likely his best film that only shows glimpses of how truly outrageous his era can get. I mean, yeah, this one gets kind of out there. I don't know if I'd call it outrageous, but it gets out there. The Spy Who Loved Me, the latest in the series, gets as silly as some of its inferior predecessors, yet it features an adversary as memorable as any since Goldfinger and Dr. No, a magnate named Stromberg. Which I can't wait to talk about the villain because he is just intriguing to me. Mm-hmm. The Spy Who Loved Me represents a newfound energy for the franchise that was struggling for definition in the new decade. With amazing stunts and iconic moments, it's hard not to love this film. Is it hard not to love it, Travis?
I find it very endearing.
Yeah, it's got some charm.
Mm-hmm.
I have problems with this movie that don't have anything to do with this individual movie, but more so the era of movies we're in. And I'm going to try to go through talking about this movie on its own merits and its own time frame, but I'm not going to be able to help bring up commentary around whether it would make it today.
Right. Oh, for sure. No, we have to. We have to mention that.
Yeah, is the movie still great? I don't know. We'll talk about it. But one thing I do know is great is Carly Simon, who's doing our song for this movie. Nobody Does It Better, by Carly, or lyrics by a couple other guys, but sung by Carly Simon, which is really all we care about. How do we feel about this intro? It had your silhouettes, it had your music, it had the Bond.
It's your classic, it's your classic Bond intro. The cold open cracks me up because it's completely ridiculous, and of course we're skiing again because there are 2 constants in the James Bond franchise. They love skiing, they hate helicopters. Bond will be skiing in a movie more likely than not, and a helicopter, if it's on screen, is probably going to blow up. Just kind of rules. But I loved I also thought it was absolutely silly and ridiculous when he does the ski stunt itself. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then his parachute is a giant Union Jack, which is just British 2 fingers at everybody. And it's kind of funny to do that because, like, again, secret agent. Or just give away where you're from. That works too.
He forgets the secret part, Travis.
Right. But no, I love the opening. Like, it is your classic Bond style opening.
Very much.
It's much better than the A View to a Kill. Like that one.
Oh yeah,
with the pew pews and like the garish 80s colors, but also just the silhouette work that they did in A View to a Kill was so campy, and this one isn't that. It's very well done, I think. And while not the biggest Carly Simon fan, this song is very good and very fitting to the movie.
Yeah, it worked for me. This is one of so every James Bond movie has your moments where you're like, okay, because we've talked about this before. I've had my kid on the couch with me most of the time going, we should watch this James Bond movie. This is one of the first intros where I was like, I think you should cover your eyes. Because it's always silhouettes, right? They're always kind of there, but it's just the female form. You know, you've all watched a James Bond movie. I'm not doing not saying anything secret. Nope. But sometimes that silhouette's a little bit more pronounced than most of the time. And I'm like,
yes,
you're not ready for...
I noticed there was a couple of those where the silhouette wasn't fully in silhouette, but there was lighting on them. And I'm like, oh, yes, those are boobies.
Yes, I was like, I was not prepared. Because we have had recently, in probably the last 20 years of Bond movies, there's been a lot less of like overt nudity and whatnot. Has always been kind of a double entendre. But this is like the Playboy magazine era of TVs and movies. And that PG rating is meant to carry a lot of weight.
Yes.
Because there's no PG-13 yet, and we haven't updated any of those ratings.
That's
so
true.
There's several moments of just blatant nudity in this movie that I wasn't ready for, because usually it's undercut or cut away from or hidden in some way. There's always some clever way they do it so that if you are watching it with like it's not a family film by any stretch, but it could be an older family, or you're watching a spy flick. That's cool.
Yeah, we're 1977. We are post Hays Code for sure, but we're pre PG-13 and sort of the 80s change that happened, the sea change that happened there. So it definitely is a thing.
So anyway, it had me giving pause to my parenting choices a few times. That's okay. It'll be fine. But yeah, it was great. The song was fine. It was good. I enjoyed it for what it was. I like that it was throwing back to that cool silhouette style, not what we saw in A View to a Kill, which was just somebody with a camera just going, I don't know, do stuff. This felt like intentional. It felt like there was art to it, and that was something I appreciated for sure. But we've talked about Roger Moore once. Let's talk about him again.
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Yes, Roger Moore back for the third time as James Bond. And this time he's younger than he was before by almost 10 years from the last movie. My question to you is, did that impact your view? Because we talked about him being old a lot. Did that impact that 10 years of age make a bigger difference in his performance for you this time?
Absolutely. He felt more like James Bond here to me than Grandpa cosplaying as James Bond. It's just, I mean, almost 10 years. It makes a difference. And this was the third time he was doing Bond. And this was the first time they really wrote Bond for him instead of kind of trying to keep the Connery style going. They sort of figured out after Man with the Golden Gun, they're like, Roger Moore isn't Sean Connery. And maybe we need to just restructure the way we write him a little bit. So he's very just smooth, and he's very suave and very quippy, and but being a little bit younger, yet still right at that kind of late 40s stage, I think works for this era of James Bond. So it's definitely a big step up from what we saw in A View to a Kill.
I thought it was a big upgrade as well. It's still far from my favorite Bond. Far from my favorite Bond. I think he's still old. I think he's still a little too old. And I just feel like he's not cool. When I look at this Roger Moore James Bond, he just does not strike me as very cool. His actions, his movements, anytime he kicks anyone just upsets me. Like,
his kicks are terrible. His kicks are absolutely awful.
I hate to say this because he has his place. Roger Moore has his place in the pantheon of James Bonds, but he just comes across as an actor who has never swung a hammer before, playing a guy who should be able to do everything.
I mean, famously, he didn't like guns, and you can kind of see it in scenes in here where he's like, if you go back and watch some of those action sequences towards the end when he's firing the machine gun, he's like blinking the whole time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But he can't kick. We know this.
No.
And I think some of it too is that we were spoiled by, like, Dalton after him was more rough and tumble. Brosnan was more, I think he had like a lithe kind of physicality to him, and he could really move really well. And then Craig is even more so in that direction. So we kind of got spoiled with what we grew up with Brosnan and Craig. And you go back and you look at Roger Moore, and he's not quite there. Like Sean Connery was a Mr. Universe. He was a big, burly, well put together guy. And they always choreographed things to his strengths. Early on, it was very brawling. And as he learned judo, they would work that in. But judo doesn't have much in the way of kicking. It's a lot of grappling and throws. And I think they just needed to stick with that for Roger Moore and not have him kick things. And it would have worked a lot better.
Yeah, the commonality between Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, etc., they all seem like guys who they could climb on their roof and put a shingle on. They're going to do that job. Roger Moore is the guy that's like, have we called someone? That's the best I can give you in my brain of where I put him, is like that neighbor who just outsources every physical activity that they need to do to someone else. And I do
think that's the thing with James Bond, is James Bond has to be able to look good in the tuxedo, sitting at the baccarat table, ordering a martini and hitting on women, and also has to look great ripping that jacket apart as he's fighting with somebody and hitting them, punching them in the face where it feels like a chunk of concrete hitting you. Yeah. That's what James Bond has to be able to do. I think Roger Moore gets the first half of that really well. I do think he looks great in a suit, and he's got the smooth delivery and everything. And he gives you the right wink at the camera. It's just the physicality of it wasn't his strong suit. And, it's not his fault. It's just who he is as Bond. He makes a good James Bond. We've just had better.
Yeah. I'm reminded when you're talking about that, there's a scene it might have been Skyfall when they're on the train. He's like chasing them on a train with motorcycles and stuff. And James Bond lands in the train car. While the train's blowing off the back of the train car, he adjusts his cufflinks and just continues marching towards his goal. I'm like, yes, that is cool. Like that is somebody who doesn't give a flip about whether they live or die. Yeah. They are going to try to get this done. And Roger Moore doesn't present to me the I don't give a flip if I'm going to live or die part of James Bond.
I think that's fair.
That's okay. I mean, that was the era, and these were his movies. So, I mean, he did the job that he needed to do for his role. But it definitely, despite this being the best Roger Moore movie, he's not my favorite. It didn't really level him up that far to me above where I saw him in A View to a Kill.
And I think that's fair. I think as the Bond actors go, he is in my bottom two. It was him and it's him and Lazenby, and it's only Lazenby I think could have had a really good career had he stuck with it. He just didn't. And I think Moore, it's not a knock on him. He's not bad. He's just not as good.
Yeah,
I don't have the same connection.
Right. That's a perfect way to put it. But we do have a new villain we need to talk about in this.
I'm not interested in extortion. I intend to change the face of history.
That is the voice of Kurt Jürgens, who played Karl Stromberg in this movie. I agree with the reviewer that said he's up in the pantheon for me of Goldfinger, Dr. No. This villain was my favorite part of this movie.
So he's great. Initially, he was supposed to be Blofeld They were going to have that, but they were still in the middle. They were in the middle of the legal quagmire with Kevin McClory over Spectre and Blofeld, and so they couldn't use him. And they ended up rewriting things, and they go with Stromberg. I liked Stromberg as a villain. My one complaint, and it's a minor, I mean, it's a major complaint, but it's a nitpick, is I just wanted more Stromberg. I wanted more of him on screen and more backstory. They did some really cool stuff. Like, did you notice his hands? He had webbed hands.
Oh, really? I did not notice his hands.
If you go back and watch some scenes, look at his hands when he's hitting buttons and stuff. He's got webbed hands, like between his thumb and pointer finger, especially. You can see it. It's very prominent. And I'm like, what's that about? And they never mention it. And that's cool storytelling because it tells you there's something off about this guy. Something is weird and you're not quite sure what it is. So that would have been cool to kind of explore without having to do an exposition dump. So I kind of, I do appreciate that. But I thought Kurt Jürgens just rocked it. He sold it so much. He was so perfect Bond villain, right? Calm, collected. I liked that we'd had a run of, I want to take over the world. I'm going to extort money. I'm going to do this. And he's like, I don't care about any of that. I want to remake the world. I'm going to sink. I'm going to destroy everything and remake the world in the ocean. Like that's some peak Bond villain craziness right there. Loved it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't like how we lost him for a long time. Like his introduction in this movie is spectacular.
Oh, it's so good.
He's so cold. He's got these two henchmen that have come and they've done this job for him. And he's like, I'm sending $10 million to each of you in your Swiss bank accounts. I'm like, that's cool. Then he drops a woman out of an elevator into a shark tank to get eaten.
Yeah.
Like, and cold as ice. He's just this is what you get for betraying me. And these two dudes are just like, oh, snap. Okay. They leave. He blows up their helicopters and tells his secretary to cancel the money transfer. What?
Oh.
Like, I was enthralled. I thought this guy is doing what villains are supposed to do. They don't give a flip. Like, the guy, what? Don't pay him. They gave you the thing. Kill him and move on. Nobody will know you're out here in the ocean.
It was such
just
a great way to do it.
His evil lair was like a weird boat thing. And the big table with the artwork everywhere. The symphony, the musical score was just classical music. It was just chef's kiss.
It's everything you want your Bond villain to be. It is. It is everything that, you know, Goldfinger and Blofeld and Dr. No are. That's why those movies do so well, and that's part of what made this one do so well and be so well thought of is Stromberg. We just needed more of him because you're right. The movie sort of forgets about him for a while.
Yeah.
And then he just pops back up. And I even like how he gets taken out because it's perfect because he is no physical threat at all. And so he has basically one play to try and defeat Bond at the end. Doesn't work, and then he goes out. And that's it. And that's what I also want that of my Bond villains. So I just wanted more. I wanted more of him on screen. I wanted more interaction between him and Bond. There's 2 scenes and they're not very long. The first time he just shows up under false pretense, I'm a marine biologist and he meets him and is like, nice to meet you. Okay, I'm busy. I got to go. Like that's it. That's their whole first meeting.
Yeah. And he knows he's Bond. He knows he's not a marine biologist. He knows exactly who he is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what puts him that puts him a notch down from Goldfinger and Dr. No and everybody because they had just more time to develop. But
I agree with that.
He's great.
Yeah, when he's on screen, I am watching him, and I'm captivated by him. But yeah, the relationship that Goldfinger and Bond have throughout, like the goofing around on the golf course and the having him chained up with the laser and everything, like it's much more constant. Goldfinger's appearance. But I just couldn't get enough of this guy. I just loved watching him on screen. It was just so good to see him. He was so cold and sinister.
Yes.
And I think that makes a wonderful villain. Like it's like the last movie we were talking about, Christopher Walken. He was fun to watch on screen, but mostly because he was Christopher Walken. Not so much anything going on with the villain.
And it's also like, here are two sides of the coin of, we have a psychotic villain, but in A View to a Kill, they tell us he's psychotic over and over. And then they show us that by him just mowing down all of his henchmen by himself. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, no one ever once says Stromberg is psychotic or crazy or bonkers or off his rocker or anything like that. And he shows us with his first actions, which is like, calmly bring these two guys in, thanking them for what they've done for him, how they have helped him. He's paying them. Oh, sorry, my dear. Could you leave the room for us? And then as soon as she's outside the room, drop her out of the elevator into the shark tank in front of these two guys, where like Stromberg's pulse didn't change at all that whole time. And he is telling these two guys, do not mess with me or you end up like her. Yeah. And they're afraid to leave, and then he blows them up anyway. That's how you do something like that.
Yeah. A masterpiece in show don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what weird, because this is the middle movie of the Roger Moore series.
Yeah.
And this is where we get our best villain, and like you get to the end and you're wondering what happened. For multiple reasons, the action sequences in this are really good. Like we just talked about, Roger Moore can't fight or anything, but that, like you said, that worked really well with this villain because they didn't have to fight. Like, it wasn't a big knuckle dragger kind of knockdown drag out kind of thing, because neither of them excel at that. Jaws is the muscle in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which brings us to, wait, no, we're not doing that first. Sorry. I segued to the wrong part.
I was just going to say real quick, like, imagine if Walken's character was introduced similarly. Instead of them telling us about, like, all we know about Stromberg prior to his introduction is he's one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah.
And that's it. But we're not told, like, oh, he's this, oh, he disappeared from here and he's psychotic. Just imagine if Walken was given that to work with, and he gets to give the performance instead of kind of putting on a facade and then sort of having to play into what we're being told about him. Show, don't tell. I just think it could have been really, really effective. So yeah, Stromberg's great.
Yeah, he's definitely up there for me. Next up, let's talk a little bit about Triple X.
Please keep me informed, Comrade General. I should very much like to meet whoever was responsible for his death.
Yes, that is Anya Amasova, or Triple X, played by Barbara Bach. She is the KGB agent that will be working with James Bond throughout this film. And she's also kind of doubles as our Bond girl. I love that her name is Triple X, because that's when my wife looked at me with that side eye. That was just like, Triple X, really? And I didn't even put it together. I was like, yeah, like Vin Diesel. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, she was one of those Bond girls that actually had something to do. This is definitely a couple notches up from a handful that we've seen so far. She has a little bit of capability. I feel like she's still robbed by the writers of this movie. If she's like the KGB alternative to James Bond, she is not treated as such by the script.
And it's the fault of it's just the writers not knowing how to write women. I mean, that's really where it falls to. Like, you take this character, this idea of a character, fast forward it 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, put it at Brosnan Dalton era, and she's completely different. I think also the performance is not great. Like, Barbara Bach isn't terrible. She just comes off a little bit wooden here, and I think some of that is preparation time. She was cast 4 days before they started shooting.
Oh my gosh.
And apparently, according to trivia, she wasn't auditioning. She auditioned just to have a part in the movie. She didn't go in. They weren't having her audition for the lead. She was just there to be like, I just want to be in the movie, some part. And they're like, how about the lead? How would you like that? And I think that's, it's not her fault by any stretch, but it does come off a little bit wooden, and there's zero chemistry between her and Roger Moore. I will say that.
I don't know if Roger Moore has chemistry with anybody. I'm going to have to go back and watch like multiple of these Bond movies to see if any of these women have any chemistry with him at all. Because to me, And I think that's what messes this up. We both wrote down the word misogyny in this movie in our notes because I was looking at them earlier. It's on strong in this particular movie. I feel like we were mistreating women left and right in just the worst ways. And that comes across even worse. Like with her, I think it stands out more because you're like, here's this woman that's supposed to be capable. And there is, driving the car, her trying to get away from Jaws in the van, that hurt me because she's a KGB spy and she can't drive stick. Like,
yeah,
you're kidding me, right?
Meanwhile, the whole time James is there just ripping on her and quipping.
I hated it.
It wasn't funny, and and I did not enjoy it. And then when she makes one quip, he just rolls his eyes super hard. Like, dude, come on. What have you been doing for the last 5 minutes? Nothing helpful or constructive.
Yeah. You're both about to get eaten by this guy. And you're just sitting there going, women drivers. That just bothered me so much. Because it turns James into not the cool guy. He's an a-hole.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I don't want James to be an a-hole. I want him to be suave. I want him to be commanding of a situation. I don't want him just to sit there and be a little jerk. Like, that's not fun.
Most of the time, his quips, that is a moment where the one-liner is punching down as opposed to just making a joke. Like the Egyptian builders joke is funny.
Yeah.
Because obviously they built the pyramids, and here he is making that joke. Funny thing about that was, according to the trivia, he mouthed the words and they ADR'd it in later because they didn't want to upset whoever it was from Egypt that was on set. And then they were a little bit worried that Egyptian audiences wouldn't like that, but they went with it anyway. And apparently that got the biggest laugh. Like the Egyptian audiences just found that was hilarious.
That's great.
But yeah, that was a moment where it just felt like he was punching down. And I'm like, we don't need that. Cause you're right. It turns James Bond into a dick, and he should be dickish. Sure. But not a full-on a-hole.
And to the right people.
Yes,
like not to
that too.
Not to the women that he's working with. Like that just bothers me so much because then he'll turn around and be like, hey, and just attempt to kiss them over and over. And I swear, I cannot get it out of my mind. I was talking to Ashley about Roger Moore, and she's not a Roger Moore fan at all. I might have talked about this last week. But her comment was that he kisses like a weirdo. I didn't pay any attention to it till she said that. And then I started paying attention. Like, he does kind of kiss like a weirdo. Like everything he does is very soft movements. Like he's just very gentle with everything.
Which makes you wonder like how the chemistry with his on-screen cohorts.
Right.
And look, it's a James Bond movie, so you expect that he's going to be with women all throughout it. And so like I can forgive to an extent because like at one point I had a note down. I'm like, there were 4 women so far in this movie. 2 of them were KGB undercover agents that he slept with and then takes off on, and she's revealed after he leaves. And the other one, he doesn't use her necessarily as a human shield, but kind of ends up as a human shield.
Oh yeah, right.
In Egypt. And then you had Agent XXX and the harem girl that's just like offered to him. And I was like,
oh, that grossed me out. I hated that a lot.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing. It's one thing when it's James like putting the moves on and he runs into somebody and he does his James Bond thing. It's another when he's talking to somebody and they're just like, here, have this. Yeah. That's not, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
No, that bothered me a lot. I actually forgot about that until you mentioned it. I blocked it out of my head. Yeah, because he's not earning these women anyway. Like the one that you used as a human shield. Like, he walked in the door, and he's not that handsome to me. I don't know what he's got going on, but the whole here's this lady. Why don't you stay the night and she can entertain you? Would gross me out a lot.
Yeah.
So
I did love his line with the one woman though, when he gets into that room and he's like, he's looking around and checking for stuff because he's supposed to be meeting Fekesh there, or Fekish.
Yeah,
they pronounced it both ways.
Yeah, they did.
And she's obviously just there to distract him. And I did like this exchange.
You are very suspicious, Mr. Bond.
Oh, I find I live much longer that way.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to work. We also had another Bond girl in this I wanted to bring up simply because it seemed like she was going to be a Bond girl and then kind of faded in the background, and that was Naomi.
Oh, right.
Who he met when he was the so-called marine biologist going to visit with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi cannot act. I don't know who that girl was supposed to be, but those lines were some of the worst I've heard.
So I don't know. In a movie. Again, IMDb trivia, so grain of salt. But apparently, the intro for her when she rides up on the boat, like she had just been stung by a bee, like right before that. So her like stiff nature there is because she's in pain from the bee sting, is what they said.
Okay. Okay.
But you're right. Like overall, there's not much to her. And then she's in a helicopter, and we all know what happens to helicopters in James Bond movies.
Right. Yeah.
You're not long for this world.
Blown out of the sky. But I don't know why it just, the word she said is like she was looking at a cue card. Like there's no acting happening. And it brings me to like the point of these guys making these movies. They're looking at, that's a very attractive woman in a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
Think she can read a line or two? Probably. Okay, hire her. That's how I think most of the conversations went around everyone in this movie.
Probably.
Yeah, sans Barbara Bach, who had more to do and was more important. But even then, like you said, very wooden performance, dragged along for the most part with what you would hope she would have more to do, but it just didn't work out that way. She could have been better.
Yes, I would like to have seen a better written version of Major Amasova.
Amasova.
Yeah. A better written version of Major Amasova, I think, would be really interesting, especially because like I love the moment of the two of them in the back of the truck, and they're kind of doing like the spy craft rivalry. Like,
yes,
I've never failed a mission. Well, you're about to, because I'm not going to fail my mission. Like that kind of stuff could be cool. Very, like, you know what a better version of this is think of Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. That's the kind of banter and relationship that these two should have. That's where it works really well, because Angelina Jolie's character in that movie is written really well, and she brings a lot to that.
Right. So, yeah, she's tough. She's got things to do. One thing real quick aside, when she's talking to James at one point, kind of letting him know she knows who he is, he was married, and they brought that up. And I thought that was a pretty cool throwback to you kind of know in the timeline where this lands as well after the movie we watched with George Lazenby.
Yeah, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I actually captured part of that exchange because I really liked that, where it basically went, this was the very end of it.
Many lady friends, but married only once. Wife killed.
All right, you've made your point.
Like it's a sore spot for him too. That's a really well written and well acted scene by Roger Moore.
Yeah, that was one of his strengths, to be able to do that and make you believe it. I like that a lot for sure. All right, let's talk about some henchmen. How about it?
He just dropped in for a quick bite.
Excellent pun. The puns in this are great. The little puns they throw everywhere are great. So we have a couple henchmen here. We've got Richard Kiel as the famous Jaws, and Milton Reed as Sandor. They get introduced together, Sandor and Jaws. I watched Sandor walking through and said, that man is all chest.
He's built like a fire hydrant.
Never skipped chest day.
Right.
Because holy cow.
I think he may have been a pro wrestler or something. I know I did read where he had auditioned for Oddjob in Goldfinger and didn't get it, but I could see him as Oddjob. He's got that. He's got that same build, so that could have been a lot of fun.
Definitely. I wish we had more of Sandor. I hate that Sandor gets taken out so quickly in this movie,
and it's unfortunate because it also he gets a fight scene, but it is not a good fight scene.
It's the kicking. It's more kicking.
Yeah, it's just don't let Roger Moore kick things.
It's so embarrassing. The punches are bad. The kicks are bad. He does have the one move that works, and that's swinging from something into a person with a kick. like a kick, swing kick. He likes that move a lot. That's one of his favorites.
By the way, Milton Reed, at this point, he was born in 1917. That man was 60 years old when he made this movie.
Dude, I'm telling you, you shave your head, you look younger. It's just how it works. He was bald and just that guy's awesome. That's great. Grandpa's doing some good work.
For sure.
Yeah, Milton Reed, great. Not enough to do, but Jaws, Richard Kiel. Jaws is the constant thorn in the side of both Bond and Anya this whole time.
And iconic. This is how you do a Bond villain henchman, right?
Yeah.
We talked about it with Odd Job. Like, aside from the of Odd Job, like, he's a great iconic villain because he's got a shtick and quirks, and he's memorable looking, and he's just there to be the muscle. And Jaws is there. He's the muscle. He's apparently made out of adamantium because he's indestructible. I wrote down Jaws deaths in quotes. That dude died like 5 times in this movie.
Yes, easily. And I loved his teeth. I mean, that's just one of the best things ever. They're just these weird, they're like cogs. There's like three teeth at the top and 3 teeth at the bottom, and they just fit right together.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. What I don't really understand is how he's killing these people, because he's biting their neck or something.
Yeah,
and
I guess
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. He's just that strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Richard Kiel was a mountain of a human being, like 7'2". The fight on the train when he grabs Roger Moore by the neck and picks him up, mitts on that guy. It's not a hand, that's a paw. It looked like a bear paw. Like, he could engulf Roger Moore's head with one hand.
Yeah, because you often look at these big guys and there's camera kind of tricks to make them appear bigger or whatever, but there's no trick when you're holding a man's head in your hands.
Yeah.
Like, that is how big your hands are. He was massive. I loved his double-breasted button suits. You know, they're just absurdly long because they have to be, because he's just massive. He's this huge guy. But yeah, his fight scenes were really fun because they were so barbaric.
Yes.
He's picking Bond up in a train and shoving him into the roof.
Playing to the strength of the character and the actor portraying him, right? Like, Richard Kiel is 7'2". He's massive. He's strong. He's not agile. So let him just be a brawler. Like, he's just going to wear you down and beat the snot out of you and throw you around like a rag doll because he can. And that's what you do with him. And I think also Richard Kiel does a lot with his face in this. There's a lot of Jaws is big, mute, and the muscle, but the gears are always turning in there, and you kind of see it with him. Richard Kiel brought something to him, which is why they initially were going to kill him off at the end. He was going to get killed off, and they decided, I don't know if it was Broccoli or if it was who made the decision. We're like, you know what? Let's let him get away at the end. And apparently at like the premiere screenings and whatnot, that got a big cheer with Jaws swimming away at the end of the movie.
Which so much probably led. Oh, go ahead.
So much so that they brought him back in Moonraker, the very next movie.
Yeah, and
gave
what
him
I
like
thought,
a face turn.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that if it was celebrated so much that he survived at the premiere in the movie theater watching the movie, it makes total sense why he got a love interest in Moonraker, and then like everybody wanted him to win. Yeah. I don't know why we feel that way. Like, why do you turn around and go like, this guy's been murdering people? But for some reason, he feels like this gorilla who's just been pointed in a direction, and we just need to point him a different direction. Like, there's
kind of like, it feels like that's what they did in Moonraker with him. Is sort of showed that maybe he was having a change of heart, but then he was being forced into doing this. Whereas in this one, he just genuinely enjoys what he's doing the whole time. But it's great.
Well,
it's
he found somebody to love him in Moonraker, because that little mountain girl with the pigtails it's like so tiny, but it's like, oh, you're a giant monster, but I can love you. And you're just like, yes, he deserves that. He's been through a lot. Look at those teeth. He probably didn't volunteer to get that done.
And I guess, so there's a novelization of this film, because unlike the previous movies, there isn't a book they based it on. There is, but they didn't do it. So they wrote a full novelization. And I guess in that, they do give him a lot of backstory. Like they give him a name, where he's from, and all of this. And I think there's some of it in the IMDb trivia you can find too. Like they kind of give you a Cliff's Notes of it, which is cool. I like that. But yeah, Jaws.
It's good.
Jaws is awesome. Jaws is easily the best thing about this movie is Jaws.
Absolutely. And if you want to play him in the GoldenEye video game, you're making a mistake because he's very easy to hit.
Yes.
He's very, very, very tall. But yeah, that was fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about like our allies.
Moneypenny, where's 007?
He's on a mission, sir, in Austria.
Well, tell him to pull out immediately.
There's that innuendo that we were talking about. Roger Moore's era is full of lines like these, mostly from Bond himself. Almost too many, really. It's just a constant attempt to try to put in some sort of innuendo. Yeah. But allies, we didn't have like. I struggled with this one because I was like, you could almost say Anya is an ally, but Anya's the Bond girl. So I kind of categorized them differently. M, Moneypenny, and Q. Those are our allies this time around.
So we have Bernard Lee as M, and this was not his last. I think Moonraker was his last one, and then he passed away after that. And we had Moneypenny. So they're there. Q, and we'll talk about Q here shortly because we have things to talk about with Q, which is awesome. Yeah. But this was the movie that introduced Walter Gotell as General Gogol from the KGB. This was his first appearance of that character. He had played a Russian spy in The Spy Who from Russia with Love, a different character. But here he's General Gogol, who we saw in A View to a Kill, and he did several Bond movies between. He kind of popped up here and there. So him, the Minister of Defense, Jeffrey Keen's Minister of Defense, who gets a name in this. Bond calls him Freddy at one point. After that, it's always Minister. But this was the first time he showed up. And Robert Brown has a small role in this as Admiral Hargreaves. Robert Brown ends up taking over as M in For Your Eyes Only in 1981.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's whole fan theories about like it's the same character and Admiral Hargreaves just became M. But then there's also things where it's like, no, it's supposed to be the same M. They just had to change actors. But yeah, so we got them. But for the most part, like we don't have a Felix Leiter, right? We get the closest we get to another ally are the sailors from the submarine that Bond is on. The captain of that, though, I was trying to figure out watching this why his voice sounded so familiar to me, and I figured out what it was. Do you know what it was?
What was it?
He has a very small role in Batman Begins. There's a scene in Batman Begins where all of the water mains are blowing, and there's like an old guy in the water main control center talking about like, oh, this is going to back pressure all the way through and it's that guy. And his voice is very familiar, like is very, very distinct. So when I heard him in this movie, I'm like, that voice sounds so familiar. Why do I know it?
Yeah.
So I had to look it up afterwards. I'm like, that's why. And that's why when I saw Batman Begins the first time, that voice sounded familiar to me too, because of this movie. So it's very cyclical.
Well, I have one for you, a voice that I recognize that I needed to go find out. Max Kalba.
Yes.
In the little dance where everybody's dancing and they're going to get the microfilm from him. I heard him speak and I thought, wait a minute, that voice. And I immediately just in my head went, if you are a Scottish lord, then I am Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
And sure enough, he played the butler in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And I was stunned.
Vernon Dobchev.
Yes.
He is a favorite character actor of mine because of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think this was his first Bond movie either. I think he had like another small role in an earlier one somewhere. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I loved that. That was great.
I heard him say something also, and I thought, oh, that's him.
Charles Gray, who was our Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yes.
And we talked about how in that movie, in that episode, we talked about how he had been in the previous or two movies earlier as a different character. He's in this. He is the voice. He's the voice of the pyramids like show that they go to.
Oh, no way.
That's Charles Gray. Yeah. And I had to capture this because I love this is the weirdest weirdest pronunciation of this word I've ever actually heard.
Here on the plateau of Gizeh.
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 I have
That's
never
probably
heard
correct,
it
and we just don't know it.
It might be.
Yeah, that's how it's actually pronounced.
40-something years of life, and I've never heard Giza pronounced Gizeh, but that was
Gizeh.
Charles Gray. So that got me. There was also a moment... Oh, go ahead.
There are probably a bunch of guys in the sound booth that go, we're going to tell them to redo that? We've been here like 6 hours. No. Let it slide.
There was also... We haven't talked about the score a ton.
We haven't.
But there is one moment... There were moments of this score I just absolutely loved. It had this weird 70s funky thing going on that I really dug. But there's one moment in particular in that scene when you get the reveal of Jaws, and it was just this little sting of music as Jaws is revealed. And I have that forever now, and I'm so happy. Like, I need to figure out ways to use that.
Well, speaking of the score, I actually captured some of that 70s funk you were talking about, because it's such a strange thing to use in a Bond film. But after hearing the Beach Boys, I'll take this any day.
Oh, yeah.
And here's a little snippet of that music. Like, it's got the wah-wah just,
it does. It so firmly puts this movie in 70s era.
Yeah.
And I love that. I don't know why. There's just something about that time capsule it feels very out of place for a Bond movie, because again, we're used to everything Timothy Dalton and later. And this is like, yeah, but we can have some fun. It's James Bond. We're getting a little funky, right? The action sequence with a little wah-wah pedal.
I love the music. I kind of still hate that they did it, because I'm standing on the same opinion I had when we watched A View to a Kill. Is just it's positioning itself, it's dating itself.
Yes,
when it could choose not to date itself, but it's doing it. So it makes it feel like an older movie than like even Goldfinger is.
Yeah,
that is because
true.
of that. It's like anytime you watch a period piece, it's almost built timeless. Just because it's a period piece. It never was in the time that it's being shot in, so it can't be old.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I mean, while they don't have needle drops in this, although there is some like famous classical music used, it's having that needle drop in a 90s movie, and you're like, oh, yep, this was absolutely, put out between 1997 and 1999, because that song was everywhere. It's Mystery Men using All Star.
Right.
I think it was All Star. Yeah.
Yeah, that was them.
It just puts it right in that spot. So yeah, absolutely. Like the Connery movies feel more timeless than this does. But I also kind of just loved it too.
But it's great music on its old. Like, it's like, oh yeah. I love that era. Like, I'm a big fan of that style of music. It's just weird. I do like when it blends with the James Bond theme. Because there's moments, I didn't capture any of those, unfortunately, but when the wah-wah pedal and the guitar is, then you hear the da-na, like it all works together, and that I can abide as a Bond viewer and fan. I can abide that use, because it gives it something extra, but it also brings it home. And I think that's really cool. But yeah, as far as allies, I mean, we have them mostly passing information back and forth to each other and using those moments as plot exposition to move on to the next place. But overall, there's not a ton for the allies to do in this movie, because it is about Anya and Bond on their little adventure. But we, of course, do need to take a stop by Q Branch.
Right. Now, pay attention, 007. I want you to take great care of this equipment.
That was... Pay attention, 007 was actually in this movie, and Desmond Llewellyn was all over it. He was in this movie quite a bit, especially compared to the last 4 movies we've watched. So I had a blast in Q Branch. Travis, what were some of your favorite gadgets in this movie? Because there were plenty.
Oh, so one of the most ridiculous ones was right at the beginning with Bond's watch, because he's got like a Seiko digital watch with a printer built into it. And it's not even like it's a ticker tape printer, but it's like one of those where it's the plastic and it's punching through.
Yeah, old label maker style.
Yeah, that's perfect. An old label. So you get like 6 inches of label in there in that watch. You get one message. That's it. It's single use. But just seeing James Bond with a digital watch felt really weird to me.
Yeah.
But all of like just getting a proper Q branch scene at all, I loved, because we haven't had one since Goldfinger was the last one we had. But like the that tray, that tea set tray thing that they were setting up, and it was like a magnetic. What was
the
it?
maglev table?
Yeah, it's like a maglev table. They put the tea set on and it goes down and decapitates the dummy.
That was the coolest thing.
It was just out of nowhere, and I loved it. Like, I love those scenes with just all the crazy stuff going on in the background.
Yeah, I love that Q said we'll be ready for Ahmed's dinner party or something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to decapitate a guy on purpose with a flying tray. That was wonderful. Yeah, I actually wrote down, I love the ticker tape watch. I don't know why it just tickled me so much to see it, because it was so stupid.
It is. It's so dumb, and yet perfect at the same time.
Yeah, it's absolutely everything you need. The gun ski pole was pretty fun. We got several gadgets right out of the gate.
Yeah,
I like that. That was
great.
He snaps it, then like the trigger comes out, and he turns around and pops the guy. That was
that
so
one
neat.
was real good.
Yeah.
What was the other one I was thinking of? The microfilm reader that he had, the little like multi-part. Put it together on the boat and then drop the microfilm into it. By the way, microfilm, like the ultimate MacGuffin.
Oh, definitely. Gotta have it.
So perfect to have that. You got Russians, you've got microfilm, you've got gadgets. Like, what's not to love? And I love that he put that together and he could like somehow read and tell what was on that microfilm on like a 2-inch screen. No, you couldn't. Nobody's eyesight's that good.
I loved it. One of my favorite things that I saw at Q Branch though was this weird cartoon style spring, like ejector thing. And I actually captured the sound from it because it was like watching a Scooby-Doo cartoon. Here it is. The Foley artist had a great time with that one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I laughed so hard at that. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was so cheeseball, but so good, and I loved every minute of it. And then we get probably one of the most famous James Bond cars outside of the Aston Martin that has ever appeared on film, and that is the submarine car, the Lotus, that shows up. That is just the butt ugliest car I've ever seen. Like, I don't like boxy body styles. Like, it's basically a shrunk down white Cybertruck.
I mean, yes, but in the 70s, that was the style of a lot of cars, and that was Lotus especially. I don't know if you've heard the story. So they're, every time a new Bond movie's going on, they're looking for cars. And I think they were done with a contract or something. So they were going to be looking for a new car. And the guy from Lotus had the idea to not pursue it, but make them pursue him. And so what he did was he just took the Lotus Esprit, he covered the badging on it, and then he drove it onto the lot and just parked it by the set, wherever they were filming something, I think for the previous movie. And he just kind of left it there for a little while and let everybody ooh and ah over it and check it out. And then he just calmly walked up, got in, and drove away and made them pursue him. And it worked because then they put the car in this movie. And I like the look of the old Lotus. I did also find it funny that they ended up having to use the Lotus driver because their stunt drivers couldn't get the thing to like skid out because it was too agile. Because famously Lotus are really good in the corners. They're just so small and light. And they ended up using the Lotus driver to do all the stunt work for it, so it could actually look like cool because it didn't look cool enough because it was too good.
Right. It held the ground too well. Well, it looked cool underwater because it did turn into a submarine. And there were gadgets coming out everywhere. That thing was so neat to look at. I enjoyed that a lot. I think every future show, tech TV thing talking about what cars are going to do, we'll show a clip of that Lotus underwater every time. It's that iconic.
I mean, the Aston Martin is peak car, right?
Sure.
It's the cool looking car, but peak Bond vehicle, it's this Lotus. Like, this is the top tier of what you do, because it's a cool looking car, but then it goes off that dock and it becomes a submarine. Like, the wheels retract in and it covers that up and it becomes a full on submarine full of gadgets and all sorts of stuff. It's so cool. Loved every second of it. And then the ending of that, after all of that stuff, because we had a car chase, then it turns into a submarine and rides around for a little bit, blows up a helicopter, and then it ends in such a James Bond moment where he just casually drives it out of the sea onto the beach, which would not work at all. There's no way it would happen, but he just does it casually, dropping a fish out the window and drives away. It's so cool. Loved it.
It was great. I would take that any day. I was looking for, like, when he drove on the beach, I was looking for some sort of platform to give the tires some grab. Right. I didn't see it. It was well hidden. If they did it, it was well hidden. Great job.
Because I know in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, they had to do that. They had to build a platform so he could drive out onto the sand.
Right. Yeah, because cars, especially two-wheel drive ones, do not do well in the sand. Not on street tires. Come on.
Not at all. And as is usually the case with a car in a James Bond movie, sales went through the roof for the Lotus.
I can imagine.
To the point where they were, I think after the movie came out, a few months later, they had like a 3-year waiting list to get them. Wow. Because demand was so high. So
that's pretty impressive. And then, like, the final gadget we had really was the wet bike jet ski that they had to assemble. That thing was neat. It was a jet ski with a handlebars from a Huffy. Pretty fun. I did learn too that the Bond series at this point was one of the highest money making franchises in history. Like, if a movie came out, people were going to go watch it. I mean, this is almost a routine. It's coming out every other year. You're going to get a new James Bond movie. So the product placement was really ramping up for these because companies wanted their products in James Bond movies because that's where a lot of eyeballs were going to be. So that, and that goes to show, like, with the Lotus situation, it's a good move. Get your product into, and this happened. I mean, I remember when GoldenEye came out and all that was the commercials were about the Omega watch. James Bond wears an Omega. You know, I mean, it was when GoldenEye came back after a 6-year hiatus of no Bond movies, there was plenty of products going, ooh, we got to get in on that because people are gonna show up. It's a James Bond movie, and it's been a while, which was pretty great. So the gadgets, I think we had a really good time with those overall. And speaking of overalls, we finished it. We watched the whole thing. We've talked about the whole thing. Does this deserve to be, in your knowledge of Roger Moore movies, is it the top tier?
I think so. I think in the Roger Moore era, this is as good as those get. Because I think Roger Moore, it's the character is being written better for him. He hasn't quite gone around the bend of being too old to play the character yet. And it's got the camp that the 70s Bond were kind of known for. It's got the gadgets, all of that, the great henchman, the great villain. I think that this is as good as the Roger Moore movies get. It does suffer from a bit of slower pacing. And some of that, and I got thinking about this. This movie comes out in 1977. And when you think about going back, that's almost 50 years ago, people didn't travel as much, like to other places. And we didn't have travel shows, right? If you think about it now, it's very easy to be able to see what the world looks like in other parts, right? In other countries and other regions. We've had between like Food Network and Travel Channel and A&E and all of those in their early iterations and even like HG Network and stuff like that, you can see other parts of the world. And we've had television series that are just people traveling around and checking it out. And hey, here's what you do when you're in London. Here's what you do when you're in Cairo. And we didn't have that to the same extent back then. Like that really came along kind of in the 80s. And so in some ways, this movie is like a travelogue. And
that's a good point.
I think that might be why they tended to linger a little bit. Like, here's Cairo and here's James Bond walking into that temple and through the whole temple, so you can really see all of it, as opposed to assuming, oh, everyone knows what temples in Cairo look like at this point. We just need to show him, we need an establishing shot and then get to it. They were just kind of drawing that out a little bit more. So kind of thinking about it through that lens, I get what they were going for. It still doesn't fully translate to today quite as well. But I think at the time it worked a lot better.
Yeah, I think you could probably shave 20 minutes off this movie just by eliminating long walking scenes. But this too has been an argument of mine since we started watching these movies, and it's clear to me now, if it wasn't before, that audiences in that day and age just weren't in that big of a hurry. We're a different bunch today. Like, we're so used to kinetic energy, just action sequence, just always moving, always got the next thing. What are we doing? And if I think about cowboy shows, which is one of the most popular genres at the time, because people are still alive that actually lived it. You had a lot of, there's one guy in a black hat sneaking through the bushes for 5 minutes with low music and nobody gets shot. It's just peeking around. And that's what this vibe has a lot of. It's just, I'm walking from place to place. I'm going there. And in the 1977 viewer's mind, maybe that's how you build suspense. That's how you build suspense then, is
and
what's
bear
going to
in
happen.
mind too, we're pre-Star Wars at this point. Star Wars hasn't hit yet, which was not just from a sci-fi aspect, but from a filmmaking, editing, storytelling aspect, a very big change in movies. We were experimenting a lot in the 70s, but we still were kind of trying to figure it out. And Lucas and Spielberg were just coming into their own. Coppola had been doing his thing, but this is the early stages of that. Meanwhile, James Bond has been around for 15 years at this point.
Yeah, we are coming into the Rebels of Hollywood phase. Of that era, the film school students that are coming out with the Coppolas and the Lucases and the other, the many other Friedkins and stuff. Like, these are all guys that Scorsese, these are all guys out of film school getting ready to start their careers. We don't have their storytelling prowess yet. There's people making movies that were around when the movies weren't much of anything at all. The standards aren't very high and probably not that long out of the studio system, quite frankly. So we like if you really want to read a good book, dear listener, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. Check that out. Fantastic book about these very people and how they changed Hollywood. But I mean, even if you think about Star Wars, I remember watching that with my son. And when you have a fairly inattentive, like 5-year-old watching that movie, it became painfully obvious to me how slow that movie is. Star Wars, which we view as like the pinnacle of all cool sci-fi. It's slow as molasses. Like, it takes a long time to get going. There's a whole lot talking about stuff.
Yeah. It's just a different era, and it's really going to be fun to see as we go forward now, because we've now done Connery, Moore, and Lazenby. So we have done the initial early versions of James Bond in the 60s into 70s and into mid 80s filmmaking. And even A View to a Kill was still holding on to that 70s era film style, because it was John Glenn directing it, who had been second unit on this movie and then started directing. So like, we hadn't changed into a new era yet.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these films go. Like, I want us to remember the fight between James Bond and Shandor in this. That fight between those two, or the fight sequences with Jaws when we get to Daniel Craig, when we get to Pierce Brosnan, and think back on what we had and where we've come. So it'll be really interesting. But I think overall this is still fun. Like, it's got the fun camp. You just had this one in particular, this era, you have to watch through that lens. I would still much rather watch this again than A View to a Kill.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. Yeah. But that's it for us. If you agree, disagree, want to tell us, that we are totally wrong and we don't even know what we're talking about, or this isn't the best Roger Moore movie. I don't care what the critics say. This is the best Roger Moore movie. Like, that'd be a cool thing for us to hear. And you can do all of that by emailing us at 24fpspresents@gmail.com or finding us over on Blue Sky as 24fpspresents, or calling and yelling at us. Because I know you've been yelling at this podcast the whole time. We know we can't hear it, but we're certain you're in your car fussing. So you can tell us all about that at voicecast.app/24fps. I have had a wonderful time talking about Roger Moore and kind of guiding us on this journey. But next up, if you're playing along at home, it's time to switch actors yet again as we move on to Timothy Dalton in The Living Daylights.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're getting a whole just sea change of filmmaking and era and actor. And this will be a lot of fun. Have you watched any of the Timothy Dalton ones before? I
have never seen a single Timothy Dalton one.
Oh,
and one of the benefits of Timothy Dalton is he only did 2. So he's got his worst and his best. And that's what we're going to do. I don't have to worry about whether I've seen or compared with the other Timothy Daltons. We're just going to go one after the other. So
I'm excited. I'm excited for you. This is going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. But until next time, thank you so much for joining us at 24FPS Presents The Good, the Bad, the Bond. Travis and I will return in The Living Daylights.